Chapter 2. 250 years ago, Soul Society somewhere in Rukongai. On a plain, somewhere in the outskirts of Rukongai, there's a sound of metal clashing. Soul Reaper are the protectors of spirits in the world of the living and Soul Society, but they are also hunters. Hunters who slice down hollows with their Zanpakuto. These hunters are currently dancing around the battlefield, slicing down a group of hollows that appeared in these outskirts. They're Soul Reaper, they're warriors, they're blades edge, they're swords. They belong to the 11th squad, the squad most specialized in battle among the 13 squads. They're smiling because they love to fight life-threatening battles, but also because they have absolute faith in their leader. This man seemed to radiate danger. The height of the spiritual pressure surrounding his body made the Hollow's masks shake. The captain of the 11th squad, Kenpachi Kuryashiki. He was the 7th Kenpachi, a name passed on to the strongest Soul Reaper. Kuryashiki fought the previous Kenpachi to the death in a duel. He has protected his title for several hundred years now. He was actually quite social and popular, even outside his own squad. A crack appears in the sky, and a Minos Grande appear. Kuryashiki takes it out with his Zanpakuto, using only one swing. He isn't interested in the Gillian. No, there's something else inside the crack. He tells it to come out. Countless white threads fly out of the crack. They intertwine, turn into rope, and then knit together into one big net. The net wraps around Kuryashiki's sword and pulls him towards the crack. There's a short tug-of-war, then a small hollow is dragged out. It looks like a white spider. Its spiritual pressure is stronger than that of the Gillian, heavier. It's in a juhas. Suspended on one of its threads, it hangs mid-air between the crack and the ground. Kuryashiki tells it, "Not you either. There's another one behind you. It might be a Vassalorde." The spider doesn't respond and attacks again. Kuryashiki stabs it. Still, no response. Kuryashiki pities it. He says, "You have no contents, huh? I don't have time to be cutting dolls. Come out." He tosses the spider back into the crack. He knows there's someone inside there, but the crack closes. Kuryashiki is disappointed for a moment, but then happily rejoins the battle on the ground again. Several hours later, the battle is over, and the 11th squad is having a drinking party. The 4th and 8th squads arrived to offer backup, but seeing as the battle was already over, they moved to leave again. However, Kuryashiki semi-forces them to join their party. The 11th squad members are impressed with their captain's strength. Only Captain Kuryashiki can take on a Minos like that. Kuryashiki tells them not to forget about Captain Yamamoto, or the 12th captain, Hikifune, or those from the Kuchiki and Shihone clans. His members respond, "But you never hear about anyone taking down a Vassalorde like you did in the past, Captain." Shunsui Kuraku is also present. Kuryashiki asks him if he could take down a Vassalorde. Shunsui responds, "It depends on compatibility. He could win against a Vassalorde and lose against a Gillian. You never know." Shunsui asks if it's alright for them to be drinking like this. Yamamoto might yell at Kuryashiki again if he doesn't report back on time. And what will Captain Unohana say if he gets her soldiers drunk? Kuryashiki agrees that Unohana, he calls her Retsu Nisan, is scarier than any Minos when she's angry. They discuss what happened earlier. It's strange for several hollows to appear, plus a Gillian, a Jukas, and maybe even a Vassalorde. Are the hollows starting to use battle formations and organize themselves? Kuryashiki thinks they might in the future, but not yet, although he does remember the Vassalorde, which he had defeated in the past, yelling, "Baragan-sama!" before he cleansed it. A hollow general, ha! He'd like to fight it someday, but Ashido Kano might kill it before him. Ashida disappeared in Wekomundo a few years ago, with a few subordinates chasing a hollow. That's why Kuryashiki and Shunsui spoke about him, made it clear that they thought he's still alive. Kuryashiki says that even if the hollows will continue to evolve, the 13 court guard squads will improve as well. In 300 years, all captains and even vice captains may be able to take on a Vasto Lorde. Shunsui jokes they may have to retire then. Kuryoshiki says he might already be dead by then, but that's no problem. The 11th squad will always be led by a Kenpachi. One of his members quietly asks him if it's true that the Zero Squad invited him. It's true, but he refused. He's not suited to protecting a king, hiding away in a different dimension until the enemy manages to get in. And it's not like he was officially ordered to join by Central 46 either. Furthermore, as Kenpachi, he has to wait here until someone manages to surpass him. "Excuse me, can I have a second of your time?" A young man uttered those words. He spoke softly, but his words somehow resounded clearly in the parting Soul Reaper's ears. His appearance made it clear he was a noble, but he wore the bare minimum of decoration. Even Shunsui, the second son of a high noble family, didn't recognize him. Kuryoshiki asks the young man what he wants. A drink, maybe? The young man hears a female voice behind him. "That's him. That's Kenpachi Kuryoshiki." The black-haired woman laughs loudly. She's wearing a white kimono, worn in a way that exposed too much skin, and an excessive amount of decorations. 2 wide leather straps are crossed over her face, covering her eyes. The man tells her to state the obvious and move away. She does as he says, although she calls him cold and says she hopes he'll lose. "Kenpachi Kuryoshiki, I heard that. If I kill you in front of over 200 soldiers, I will gain the title Kenpachi in the position of captain." Kuryoshiki confirms this. The young man says he'd like a duel to the death right now, although he doesn't mind waiting until Kuryoshiki has sobered up. The other Soul Reaper laughs at his request. Does he have a death wish? But Shunsui, the worried 4th squad members, and Kuryoshiki aren't laughing. Kuryoshiki says he doesn't need to sober up and stands up. His members are shocked, but quickly make room when they realize he's serious. They send pitiful glances towards the young man. He'll lose. He isn't even carrying a Zanpakuto. They form a circle around Kuryoshiki and the young man. Kuryoshiki asks Shunsui to act as witness. Shunsui tells the young man there are other ways to become a captain. The man responds that he has no interest in small talk. The man's words may appear arrogant, but Shunsui notes the lack of emotion in his voice. Shunsui warns Kuryoshiki to be careful. Shunsui silently thinks that the man's lack of Zanpakuto doesn't necessarily mean he's weak. Leader of the Kido Corps, Tessai could compete with a captain with the power of Kido alone. However, seeing Kuryoshiki smile, Shunsui knows it's pointless to try and stop him. Kuryoshiki has won many of these kinds of duels. The young man asks if the requirements for the duel have been met. Kuryoshiki says they can start any time. "I see. Then your life won't be pointless." The next moment, blood sprays out from all over Kuryoshiki's body. It's as if a tornado of blades bursts out. No one saw the young man draw his Zanpakuto, nor throw a Kido. He hadn't even moved. Even so, he was now the new Kenpachi. A man stronger than Kuryoshiki had appeared, just as Kuryoshiki had wished for. Somewhere in Hueco Mundo, the Soul Reaper weren't the only ones who had witnessed the 7th Kenpachi's demise, even though at this point in time the sheer concept of surveillance camera didn't exist in the world of the living yet. There were bug-type hollows that did possess the kind of ability, and a certain humanoid hollow who had these small hollows under his control had used them to watch the duel. He was a Vasto Lorde, and he was the one behind the hollow attack in Soul Society a few hours ago. This is Yami's phrase, but this is truly suerte. He had planned on dissecting Kuryoshiki's dead body. However, he doesn't mind this development either. He'll rewind the records of the recording spirit bugs to analyze what happened in the duel. The man let out an insane laugh. Then he turns his eyes to the white spider-type hollow. He tells the spider to feel honored. He had planned to kill it, but these events inspired him to try a new experiment. He'll let it continue to be his marmot. The spider lowers its head, feeling slightly happy. It expresses its gratitude towards the Vasto Lorde, who will eventually become an Arankar and an Espada to Sasuke Aizen. "Thank you very much, Sazapuro-sama." Present day. The name Kenpachi, after being passed to its 10th successor, Kenpachi Kinjago, is now held by the 11th successor, Kenpachi Zaraki. However, there is no record of the 8th Kenpachi ever being defeated. There is not only no record of the fight, there is no record of the man himself either. All records were destroyed on order of Central 46. Even so, his existence was carved deeply into the hearts of many Soul Reaper. He was an extraordinary criminal who had exposed even Soul Society itself to danger.